Well, it has been a while since we've done a video like this. We're going to talk about why turbos are the new heads cam intake. Am I only a turbo guy now? Is that what it is? No, it's not that. But today I do want to talk on the fact that we're in a new era, right? This is a new world now that we live in. Cars are not making 300 horsepower out of the factory and that be considered a fast car. We live in a world of new 5.0 Mustangs with 10 speeds, new GT500s, the new C8 Corvette, HELLCATS, so on and so forth, and yes, the Camaro. So Fox bodies have been in the game pretty much since they came out. They didn't necessarily make a lot of power, but they were a lightweight car, made good torque. We all know the story, right? These cars have been running the roads and they used to rule the streets with heads, cam, intake, underdrive pulleys, gears, full exhaust, stuff like that, right? Times have changed. So what do you do to be able to run with these cars if that's what you care about? How do you do that? Maybe a shot of nitrous? Yeah, that's always an option. Nitrous gets a bad rap. Nothing wrong with nitrous at all if you know what you're doing. You could go supercharger, absolutely. Have you seen the price of these new supercharger kits? Pretty expensive. Even the second-hand kits are pretty expensive. So you know where I'm headed with this. Obviously, you saw the title. Turbo kits are the new heads cam intake in a sense. And the reason why I'm saying this, I know this is going to piss off a lot of people. I get it. But let me explain a little further. You can take a completely stock 302. You can buy an On3 Performance Turbo kit for like shipped to your door, everything. I want to say I had like $2,800 in mine, I think, with the injectors. I have to look that up. I'll put the price right here on the screen of what I had whenever it shipped to my door. You do not need an aftermarket set of heads. You do not need a new intake or a big camshaft. You don't have to have that. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to have any gears. Even 273s are not a horrible option for a turbo car. I would suggest you go to like a 308 to 327, but you absolutely can run 273s in the car. But these stock blocks won't hold the power. We hear it all the time, right? Well, that's actually not 100% true. This car is on 15 pounds and it has been on 15 pounds for a while now, at least off and on, and I beat the crap out of it. First off, let's face facts. It's not guaranteed to split at 450 horsepower, at 500 horsepower. That's not a guarantee. It's a gamble, sure, but everything is a gamble. You build your engine wrong and you could sling it apart, right? Let's say you got a bad harmonic balancer and you never check that, and you go to spinning this thing up with your new heads cam intake and you sling the balancer apart. Let's say you don't upgrade the valve springs and you turn this thing up and you drop a valve or something like that, right? My point is, something can always happen. But heads, cam, and intake is cheaper. It's a cheaper option versus a turbo kit. Well, is it really? Like an 11R head is a very, very good head. So you go out and you spend $2,000, $2,200 on a set of 11R heads. Well, now to make those heads work, you really need a new camshaft. Well, I don't know if you've looked at the price of these camshafts lately. They're expensive. By the time you pay shipping and everything else, we'll call it $2,500. All right, now you want to buy a new intake. You're going to spend $600 to $800 on an intake. We're already over $3,000 that quick, okay? Now, I understand that there are budget heads out there, and I understand you can buy them secondhand and stuff like that. I just get so tired of hearing the fact that you can't make any real power with a stock block. Now, I know I'm going to a dart block. If you guys are new to the channel, we are going with a dart block. Why is that? Because I want to try to make even more power. You are limited with this block. Let's just face the facts. But it's not cut and dry at 450 to the wheels, at 500 to the tires. So let's talk about that. How do you make these engines live longer? If you're going to be making 500 plus to the wheels, how do you make these things last? Well, the best thing is good harmonics. So you want to make sure you got a good harmonic balancer on the car so that you don't sling the internals apart, right? Secondly, you've got to keep the RPM down. You cannot turn one of these cars up making 500 plus horsepower to 6,500 RPM and think it's going to live. RPM kills these engines. Ask anybody. You cannot go out there and think you're going to turn this thing up. You may have the best valve train in the world. It's not really going to matter. So the best thing you can do is keep the RPMs low. Take a lot of timing out of it. My car on 15 pounds makes 16 degrees of total timing. That's all it makes. My car is in the low to mid 11s on air fuel. But what I want to do is give you guys some options that want to be in the game, that want to get out there, but maybe don't have the money, right? Maybe you don't have the credit to go out and buy yourself that new Coyote, or go out there and buy yourself that new Hellcat, Red Eye, Demon, whatever it is, right? Maybe you just don't have the means to do it, but you want to go compete and you like your FOXBODY, but you think there's no way of doing it without going to an aftermarket block and really pouring the boost to it. That is not entirely true. You can take, let's just call it $3 grand, $3,500. You can slap a turbo kit on one of these cars, bone stock, and you can make very good power. Now, there's always an argument with the transmission. It won't hold up. Guys, don't over clutch your car. We're not going to get into that. That's a whole nother topic. Don't put too harsh of a clutch in your car. These transmissions actually will hold up. They will surprise you at just how long they'll last. You just got to kind of be easy on it. Put you a set of good tires on it. You got to do that with any car, right? You're pretty much going to have to put good tires, good suspension, and all that on. It's just a different era that we live in now. Things move a lot faster. Cars are a lot faster. And if you want to know how to compete with that and work with what you've got, a turbo kit's a good option. Obviously, nitrous is a very good option if you know how to tune it. Supercharger is a good option. They're just really expensive. And I know that sounds backwards, but yes, look at the supercharger kits. They're extremely expensive, and you can slap a turbo on here. I guess one of the other questions is probably going to be, yeah, but those are really hard to install. Not compared to a heads cam intake build. No, they're not. This turbo kit honestly required less work to do than a heads cam intake swap. Plus, you got to think, guys, if you do heads cam intake, you got to do some gears. You're gonna have to do gears if you put big heads and a big cam in one of these cars. Also, drivability. If you just go with a turbo, you literally can use stock cam, stock head, stock intake, all that stuff. You're gonna keep your drivability. If you go heads cam intake, the car's gonna be rowdy, and maybe that's what you want. Like I said, there again, I'm not trying to talk anybody out of anything. I feel like if you can do a heads cam intake, you can install one of these turbo kits. If you can't, you're gonna have to pay somebody anyway, right? You're probably gonna have less money in paying somebody to install the turbo kit than you would to do a heads cam intake swap. So to sum everything up, what it is that I'm trying to say is this. You can go spend a lot of money on a built stroker, heads cam intake, and let's talk about ultimate horsepower. Like, what do you think this thing's gonna make to the wheels? I'll give you, with a stroker kit and a stock block, I'll give you heads cam, all that, I'll give you 400 to the tires. So we'll say 400 to the tires is what you can get out of a good stroker kit, heads cam intake, and that's actually a little high. That varies. Let's talk about price of that. Let's say to be able to get to around that 400 horsepower mark to the tires is probably going to require a stroker kit and everything. So what's that gonna cost you? I'm gonna call 5 grand. 5 grand is probably what it's gonna take. If you do it yourself, you might be able to get away with heads cam intake, everything for like 4 grand if you shop around, do some budget stuff. Also, if you have to pay somebody, it's gonna be super expensive, very labor intensive, or you have the option of buying yourself a turbo kit, putting it on a bone stock engine, guys. Stock head, stock cam, stock intake, everything. Just put your turbo on it, get the car tuned, and now you can pretty much make anything you want to. 400 to the tires, not a problem. And if you don't believe me, go check out Neo Mustangs on YouTube. If you guys don't know who Neo Mustangs is, you need to go check him out. He's been doing this turbo thing for a while. Stock block, stock piston, stock everything, intake cam and all. But it's something I want you guys to think about. I mean, seriously, this knowledge needs to be put out there. And maybe it's just a different way of thinking that you need. Maybe this is a breath of fresh air. Maybe this was the inspiration that you needed to go ahead, pick that turbo kit up, throw it on your car, and make some serious power. And honestly, it's something you can do in your garage. Give yourself 3 or 4 days, and it's done. You don't have to pull the engine apart. You don't have to do all that. I will advise, if you do have the time and the money, it's probably a good thing to go ahead and throw some head gaskets and head studs on the car. I will say that if you're going to do a turbo kit, but you don't have to, as long as you keep the boost kind of low. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. And as always, thanks for watching.